English Salon present, this video might shatter all your beautiful illusions about the universe. Beyond the solar system, there are many so-called second Earths in legends, but are they really habitable? With this question in mind, I've decided to drop you there to experience these supposed habitable planets firsthand. I hope this journey will bring you an exciting and thrilling space adventure. Your first stop is Kepler 22b, just over 600 light-years away. It's the second Earth that most people firmly believe in. It lies in the habitable zone, with mountains and oceans. You could say it has everything you need. As long as you land here, you'll be the ruler of this planet. But Kepler 22b is larger than Earth, so its gravity is far stronger. Walking on this planet, you might feel tired. The enormous gravity will pull you downward, and every step requires twice the usual effort. The pressure your muscles bear is almost twice what it normally is. After just a few steps, you'll be out of breath, and your legs will burn with fatigue. Scientists have found that there may be an oxygen-rich atmosphere here, but being in this dense atmosphere might not be a good thing for you. Under this enormous pressure, oxygen becomes toxic. With every breath, excess oxygen will flood into your circulatory system. At first, you'll feel dizzy and excited, but soon your vision will start to blur and your body will begin to twitch. That's right, this is hyperoxia, or acute oxygen poisoning. In just a few minutes, your heartbeat will start racing wildly, then stop suddenly. You need to be brave enough to stay here without wearing a special sealed suit to regulate air pressure. You can only last a few minutes here. This so-called perfect second Earth is probably not as safe as imagined. So even a perfect orbit and breathable air can't guarantee safety. Your next danger doesn't come from the air or gravity, but from a celestial neighbor bigger than the Moon. This is the TRAPPIST-1 system. The planets here are extremely close to each other. When you stand on one of them and look up, you can see the other planets in the sky. It's just like a scene from a sci-fi movie, with 7 planets lined up next to each other. But besides being beautiful, such a short distance comes at a cost, especially for TRAPPIST-1d, a planet in this system that's roughly the size of Earth. Just as you're admiring this magnificent astronomical spectacle, problems start right beneath your feet. The gravitational pull of the nearby planets and the star creates powerful tidal forces, keeping the crust under constant tension. So tremors and earthquakes are as common as daily chores. Torn by gravity, the ground itself bends and warps. A moment of calm can be suddenly broken by a jolt, because the landscape starts to change without warning right before your eyes. It splits under boulders, releasing streams of dust and gas into the air. Every tremor comes with no warning. The low rumble turns into a roar, scattering rocks like shrapnel and destroying any shelter you try to hide in. Moments later, a stellar flare erupts overhead. A dazzling wave of ultraviolet and X-ray radiation sweeps across the planet, turning the horizon into a burning, glowing line. TRAPPIST-1d orbits a highly aggressive red dwarf star, which scorches its planets with powerful flares and violent stellar winds. The other planets you see in the sky remind you that their atmospheres will eventually disappear completely. Anyone exposed to this radiation will quickly lose consciousness due to acute radiation sickness. Every time the star erupts in a flare, another part of the planet's air is stripped away into space. The result is devastating, endless earthquakes below, and merciless radiation above. Even if the planet's temperature matches that of liquid water, the environment is far from friendly. Without a dedicated protective suit and a sturdy shelter, no interstellar traveler can survive here. From this, you conclude that on this seemingly perfect colonizable planet, survival would be impossible without comprehensive life support. After some serious reflection, you decide to find a planet without earthquakes or flares, but a seemingly completely quiet Earth-like planet isn't necessarily safe either. Such hidden, invisible dangers are everywhere. The planet you're about to land on is Kepler 186f, often called one of the most Earth-like exoplanets. It's almost the same size as Earth and also lies in its star's habitable zone. The sunlight here is gentle, and it orbits steadily. When you stand on Kepler 186f, you'll feel a calm sense of familiarity, normal gravity, warm light, and maybe an alien forest around you. You might think you can take off your heavy helmet to breathe, but that would be a fatal mistake. The specific composition of the air here is completely unknown. the atmosphere could be a toxic mixture that's completely foreign to your lungs. Models suggest it may contain high concentrations of carbon dioxide or traces of sulfur compounds that are rare on Earth. One breath could inhale gases that the human body can't process at all. If life ever developed here, its spores or pollen might cause allergic or toxic reactions in human physiology. Even the chemical composition of the rain could be different, due to volcanic emissions or mineral vapors. It might be slightly acidic, posing a risk of irritation to the skin or lungs. Without complete isolation, including a sealed suit and dedicated life support, you won't survive even a few hours. No matter what, the environment will always find your weaknesses. Radiation proved fatal on TRAPPIST-1D, but your next destination is Proxima Centauri b, where the roar never stops. It's also the closest exoplanet to Earth, orbiting a star that's almost right next door. In astronomical terms, this proximity has made it very famous. If we ever embark on interstellar travel, Proxima Centauri should be at the top of the list. But its close distance doesn't mean it's friendly to you. Standing under a dim red sky, Proxima Centauri b's surface might look quiet and strange. If there is an atmosphere at all, it's extremely thin. You stand on a barren plain, under the cool light of the red dwarf, until the entire sky suddenly flares up. The star releases a powerful solar flare, and a few minutes later, a wave of radiation slams into the planet. At first, you won't feel anything, because radiation is invisible, but its effects are fatal. The dose of ultraviolet and X-ray energy in this flare is hundreds of times higher than what humans can safely withstand. If you're in an open area, you'll directly turn into a wisp of smoke. Even a protective suit can only delay the inevitable. The outcome won't change. The terrible thing is that these flares aren't accidental. Proxima Centauri often erupts with repeated stellar storms, which may have stripped most of the planet's atmosphere away. The thin remaining air can't block cosmic radiation at all. It's as if Proxima Centauri b's own sun is trying to ensure that nothing living exists there. Even on a calm day, the radiation level on this planet is extremely high. Without top-tier radiation-proof suits and shielded habitats, living cells can't survive for more than a few seconds. Ironically, the closest potential habitable planet, one we've been studying for years to see how soon we can fly to it, is essentially a death trap. So being close and in the habitable zone is only a prerequisite, not a guarantee of habitability. For example, some planets are indeed similar to Earth, but their size and age also make them dangerous. Your next destination is Kepler 452b, often called Earth's older cousin. Its diameter is about 60% larger, and it's more than 1 billion years older than Earth. You might imagine it as a more mature Earth, perhaps a paradise covered in primeval forests, but being older has nothing to do with being safe. The moment you step onto Kepler 452b, you'll immediately feel the difference. Gravity exerts an overwhelming force on you. Every gram of weight is a burden. Your muscles ache under the extra weight, and even people who work out every day will get tired quickly. After a few days, your body will start to break down from exhaustion. According to telescope observations, this exoplanet lies in the habitable zone, but details remain unclear. Atmospheric models suggest that carbon dioxide levels are elevated, possibly higher than what humans can tolerate. There are also trace gases like sulfur dioxide or ammonia, which irritate the lungs. Rain affected by volcanic activity may have a pH of around 5, requiring on-site neutralization to protect the skin and respiratory tract. The true nature of the biosphere on this Earth's older cousin planet is completely unknown. Nevertheless, let's make a bold assumption. Suppose such a biosphere exists. Current long-term chemical cycle models suggest that plants may produce unfamiliar compounds that could be harmful when inhaled or ingested by humans. If microbial life exists, it may produce metabolic byproducts that have toxic side effects on human physiology. Before thorough sampling and quarantine measures confirm these conditions are safe, if you try to step out of this sealed habitat, you'll be exposed to unquantifiable risks. Although it's called Earth's older cousin, it's extremely efficient at destroying all visitors. So far, you've traveled nearly 1,000 light years. When you wake up, your spaceship has already returned to the solar system. Now that you're back home, your next stop is naturally to look for opportunities within the solar system. Scientifically speaking, this is probably the most reliable choice. For example, Europa, Jupiter's moon, and Enceladus, Saturn's moon, are two good options. Both of these planetary moons are covered in ice, with global oceans beneath their crusts. Where there's water, there's value in exploration, but the surface environment of Europa and Enceladus is almost beyond your imagination. Landing on Europa is like arriving at an alien Antarctica. It's beautiful, but fatally cold, at around -160 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, exposed skin will freeze solid in a few seconds, and an unprotected breath will crystallize your lungs. Most importantly, there's also radiation. Jupiter's magnetic field traps intense radiation belts that constantly bombard this moon. Without strong shielding, you'll receive a lethal dose of radiation in less than a day. The situation on Enceladus, which orbits Saturn, is equally extreme. It's just as cold, but fortunately, Saturn's radiation is weaker, though it's still dangerous if it accumulates in the body over time. The low gravity and lack of atmosphere on the surface mean there's not a trace of air, leaving you floating like a colonist in the vacuum of space. The only way to survive on these moons is to bring advanced survival pods, sealed, heatable bases with walls thick enough to block radiation. Essentially, it's a safe, warm bubble under the ice or inside a dome. Outside such a shelter, any expedition must be conducted in a fully insulated spacesuit with a life support system. Otherwise, you'll be frozen solid by the low temperature and penetrated by radiation in a few minutes. Europa and Enceladus show that water alone isn't enough. To colonize them, we'd need incredibly massive infrastructure and continuous life support. Here's the question: besides Earth-like planets and icy moons, are there other types of habitable planets? Yes, super-Earths and ocean worlds. They sound appealing, but they're the real extreme test for human survival. Take super-Earths as an example, a planet much larger than Earth, where gravity is overwhelming. Every movement becomes exhausting. The atmosphere may be extremely dense, like standing at the bottom of the ocean. Even if it contains some oxygen, the air is likely mostly carbon dioxide or other gases. Without a protective suit, inhaling this heavy, unfamiliar mixture of gases could be fatal. On such a planet, just stepping outside requires a fully sealed protective suit, otherwise, the pressure and toxic air will crush you immediately. Now imagine an ocean world, or a water planet, a world completely surrounded by endless oceans. Without land to regulate the weather, storms become enormous and rage non-stop. The air is heavy, humid, and likely oxygen poor. Even surrounded by water, you'll be out of breath. Where would you live if you wanted to colonize this planet? You might think of ships or floating cities, constantly swaying with the waves. More critically, no land means no way to grow food or build infrastructure, which also means all materials must be brought with you. So whether it's a super-Earth with suffocating air or an ocean world with unrelenting storms, the same rule applies: you can't survive in the open. To live on such planets, you must create a completely artificial living environment. Imagine domed cities with controlled climates on super-Earths, or huge floating bases on water worlds. We'd have to generate and manage every breath of air, every bite of food, and every drop of water. The only way to call these places home is to bring a piece of Earth with us. So you see, the term potentially habitable doesn't mean habitable for humans. It can be said that so far, there's no evidence to prove that any planet other than Earth is truly habitable. As you've seen on this journey, a planet may have suitable temperatures or water, but it can still be filled with invisible toxins, overwhelming gravity, brutal weather, or lethal radiation. It's clear that these distant worlds may only be suitable for the hypothetical native organisms there, but they're completely lethal to humans. But will this stop us? Of course not. This is precisely the greatness of human exploration spirit. We won't stop because of hardships and dangerous. We are born explorers and builders. We will build domed cities, underwater bases, and floating homes among the stars and seas, using wisdom and technology to create our own Earth bubbles on alien soil. This journey reminds us that every step outward is full of challenges and requires extreme caution. But more importantly, it makes us understand how precious our only beautiful blue home is when we look back. And looking up at the stars is our never-fading dream of the future. So after experiencing all this, are you still ready to live on another planet?